A quick message before we begin. If you found this video helpful, remember to subscribe, like, and comment down below. It will really help the channel grow. Hi everyone, we are back today with another video. We have a year 10 additional mathematics questions from the topic of indices. I've received this I've received these questions from a student, right? I believe he got it from his school. There's a couple of questions, so we'll go through all of them together. So it says here, the first question, express 5 sub 3 is sub q power 3 over 6 to 5 p12 q power of 1 over 4 in the form 5 a, P, B, Q, C, where A, B, and C are constants. Okay, so very easy. First of all, it's quite important for you guys to remember the rule of indices, right? So there are 9 rules, which I've pasted them for you above. So it's always best to, try to remember this so you can be quick. Anyways, let's begin. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the surd q, the square root, right? I'm going to change it to 1 over 2. So it will be 5q1 over 2. And I'm just going to put the power of 3 outside over 6 to 5, right? 6 to 5, we need to change it to something else. So say we do 5 and what's 5 to the power of 3? Is it 5 to the power of 3 or 5 to the power of 4? It's one of them. 5 to the power, nope. 5 to the power of 3, nope. 4. Yes, 5 to the power of 4 is 625. So we're going to change 625 to 5 to the power of 4. So 5 to the power of 4, P12, Q. Now I'm just going to put the 1 on the top of the Q, right? It's invisible, but it's there, right? So 1 over 4. Okay, so we are here right now, and it says that if we have a bracket and there are powers outside and inside the bracket, we need to multiply them. So the power of 3 must multiply, the 1 over 2, but it must also multiply, there's a power next to the 5, but it's invisible. It's actually the power of 1. So we must make sure to multiply those as well. So let's do them. It will be 5 to the power of 3 q 3 over 2 over, all right, let's do the same thing for the bottom. 1 over 4 must times with the power of 4, power of 12, and also the power of 1. So it will be 5 1 p 1 over 4 times 12 is just going to be 3, and q will be 1 over 4. Right, what's the next rule that we're going to use? Because I can see here that we have all the bases that are the same. Well, for 5, for q, right, they are the same from the top of the fraction to the bottom of the fraction. We will deal with the p to the power of 3 later, right? So it says here when we have a fraction or a divide and the base is the same, right, we just need to minus the powers at the top. So let's go and minus them. Right, so it will be 5, right? So you can write here 3 minus 1. 3 minus 1 is just 2. Q 3 over 2. So Q 3 over 2. So let's see. This is my new app that I'm trying out on the iPad. So I've got 3 here. Still trying to figure out how to use this. So 3 over 2, right? I know it's going to be 1, guys. So I'm just trying to show it to you how it works. So 3 over 2. Minus another fraction, so I've got 2 over 2, 2 over 2, sorry, what am I doing? 3 over 2 minus 1 over 4, 1 over, it's not really intuitive, so 4, yeah. Alright, so I'm gonna get 5 over 4, as you guys can see. Right, 3 over 2 minus 1 over 4 is 5 over 4. So 5 over 4. And what happens to the p, right? So guys, you must understand this, right? In this topic, right, the p, all right, we can of course change it into other things. So if I were to take my red pen right now, p can just become So p to the power of 3 will actually just become p to the power of negative 3. See, that's what it becomes. And that's what we are pretty much going to do. All right, so I'm just going to write p to the power of negative 3 over there, and q to the power of, what was it again? 5 over 4, yes. Right, so we got it in the same format as the question above. As you guys can see, 5a, pb, and qc, right? So a is just going to be 2. Just compare it, right? So a is going to be 2, p is going to be, sorry, not p, b. B is going to be negative 3, and q, oops, not q, c. C is going to be 5 over 4. And that's pretty much how we do it. And we've got our answer, right? So on to the next question. Right, so the second question says, given that set p qr negative 2 over p square q 1 over 3r equals into 1 over pa qb rc. Find the value of each of the constants, right? So I've written down the answers at the top, so that's our goal. So we must get those answers, right? So over here, we're going to start with the left side and change it so that it looks like the right, which is the fraction 1 over PA QB RC. So same thing like just now, right? So P, okay, to the power of 1 over 2, because square roots, when you change a square root, it actually becomes a power of 1 over 2. So P 1 over 2, and negative 2, we must multiply both on the inside. Like I said, it has an invisible power of 1, so it's actually q to the power of 1, r to the power of 1. So when it multiplies with negative 2, you're going to get negative 2 on the inside, so it will become q to the power of negative 2, r to the power of negative 2 as well, over p2 q1 over 3, and r to the power of an invisible 1. So this is what we have right now, and as we discussed in the previous question, fraction just pretty much means divide, and divide means that you have to minus the powers at the top. So let's start with the first one. So p, right? Look at both p's, the top and the bottom. What's the powers? 1 over 2 and 2. So let's minus them. So I got my calculator here. So I'm just going to put 1 over 2, right? I'm going to minus it with 2, and we got negative 3 over 2. Okay, so negative 3 over 2. Q, all right, it's negative 2 minus 1 over 3. All right, so again, calculator, negative 2 minus with 1 over 3. I can get my answer as negative 7 over 3. So negative 7 over 3. And the last one, r, negative 2 minus 1 is just negative 3, right? But it still doesn't look like the format that I want on the right side. Well, that's okay. That's fine. First of all, couple of notes for you guys. So take, for example, if I have p to the power of negative 3, for example, what does this become, right? I can, of course, change it for it to become 1 over p to the power of 3. This is one of the rules, right? So p to the power of negative 3 goes to the bottom, and I want you guys to notice the power. It will change from a negative 3 to a positive 3, right? So this is what we aim to do, but for our question as well. So we're going to change everything, yeah? So everything just becomes 1 over, right? 1 over p to the power of 3 over 2. I started off with a negative 3 over 2, but when I move down to the bottom, it will become just 3 over 2. Q will become 7 over 3, and R will just become 3. So our A is 3 over 2, B is 7 over 3, and C is going to just be 3, right? So we have the exact same answer, just like the answers above. So we have solved our question. Let's move on to the next question. So we are on question 3 right now. It says over here we want to solve the equation 2x 1 over 1.5, 6x negative 0.5 equals into x. Okay, so for these type of questions, we need to solve the values of x. All right, sometimes at the end it might just be a normal linear equation, all right, where you just solve for one value of the x, and sometimes you're going to get it in quadratic equations. It depends question to question, right? So if it's a quadratic equation, you're pretty much going to use your calculator to solve the values, okay, for both x's. So you will have two x values at the end. So the first thing that I want to do is I actually want to write the power of 1 up here next to the x, right? It's invisible. And I'm going to cross multiply. So 2x 1.5 plus 6x negative 0.5 over, sorry, not over, equals, right? Because we've cross multiplied. So once you guys do the first line, right, write an equal sign, and right now we are going to multiply. So it will become, you can write it in a bracket, so x 0.5 plus 5x negative 0.5, oops, why is my bracket so ugly? Equals, not equals, x1 right outside. Okay, so when the x needs to multiply, the x to the power of 1, right, it needs to multiply two things. The first number here and also the second number here, right? So it needs to multiply two things, right? So same thing, so 2x 1.5 plus 6x negative 0.5 equals into, when you multiply the same base, right, the x and the x on the left and the x on the right has the same base of x, so multiply just means plussing of the powers, right? So it will become x 1.5 plus 5x negative 0.5 plus 1 will become 0.5, a positive 0.5. Right, so what do we do here? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the... I think I'm going to move the 1.5 actually, guys. The ones that have the 1.5, right? I think I'm going to move it just to the left. Okay, so I think you can factorize this as well, but it's okay. There's many ways to do this. I'm going to bring them together. So 2x 1.5 minus x 1.5. I think I'm also going to bring over the positive 5x to the power of 0.5. I'm going to bring that to the left as well. Yeah, so I'm just going to bring that to the left. It will become minus 5x 0.5. When you bring things over to the other side, the only thing that changes is your positive negative symbol on the left side, right? But your powers still stay the same. All right, so, and you know what? I'm just going to bring the positive 6x to the power of negative 0.5 to the right. Yeah, I'm just going to bring it to the right. I'll solve it later. Yeah, there's many ways to solve this, right? It's not just one way. So what do I do then? Okay, have a look at the first part, guys, right? So it says here 2x 1.5, okay, and there's an invisible 1 over here next to the x. So that means they have the same base, right? I can just take the 2 and 1 and minus it. Okay, don't minus the powers, guys. We're just doing a regular minus over here. Remember, the rule is for divide, you minus the powers, right? But if it's just a normal minus, you just minus like normal, right? So 2x minus 1x will just get you x 1.5 minus 5x 0.5, okay? And I'm just going to move, actually, you know what, I'll just write it slowly. So negative 6x, negative 0.5. All right, I'm going to move the x to the power of negative 0.5 to the left side. But when I do that, I want you guys to know that this is actually negative 6 times x, guys. It's a times, right? So when you're moving something to the left now, it will become a divide. So it goes right down to the bottom, right? So it will become x 1.5 minus 5x 0.5 over x to the power of negative 0.5. See, it becomes a divide, and I'm just going to write the negative 6 by itself, right? We'll solve it later. Okay, we'll solve it later. I'm running out of space, actually. So I might just want to make this smaller a bit, so I have some space on the right side. Yeah, this looks fine. Hopefully you guys can see, actually, right? So you guys probably need to zoom in a bit. Right, so what do I do then, right? So I've got this right now. What do I do then? Now, divide, right? Divide for indices, you need to minus with the powers, right? Because you guys can see, right? The base is the same. So the x, right, to the power of negative 0.5, we must minus from two things above because it's a minus on top. So we have to minus from this, and we have to minus from this as well, okay, for the powers. So it will be x 1.5, right, minus comes from the fraction, and you've got a negative 0.5. So make sure you guys write your brackets. If you don't, you make a careless mistake over here, right? Minus 5x 0.5 minus negative 0.5. All right, again, same thing, equals into 6, right? So all we have to do then is to solve the top bits. So x 1.5 plus 0.5 is just 2 minus 5x 0.5 plus 0.5 is just, well, 1. Positive 6 now on the right side. I'm going to move to the left, will become negative 6 equals 0. And like I said from the beginning, we have a quadratic fraction right now. So we're just going to try to solve it. I'm not too sure yet how to use this calculator on the right side. Mode, is it mode? Yeah, let's see. You can solve a polynomial quadratic function. Okay, cool. Right, so let's solve it. So what's my x value for a is just going to be 1. So I'm just going to put 1 in the calculator, press equals. What's my value of b? It's going to be negative 5. So negative 5 equals, my value of c is negative 6. So negative 6 equals, right? So my value of x will be, as you guys can see there on the right side, it's just going to be x equals into negative 1. And x equals into, my second one will be x equals into 6, right? So when I got this, okay, I'm just going to write it inside the bracket, which is going to be x plus 1 and x minus 6, all right, equals into 0. So we have solved our quadratic equation already, and we have also solved the question, right? So we've got our two answers. Okay, so that is pretty much how you do it. I'm sure there's another way to do it from the beginning, but maths, right, it's all about flexibility, guys, right? There's so many ways out there to do things, okay? But yeah, the most important thing is you guys get your answer. Moving on to the next question. Okay, actually back to question 3. I've actually noticed that I've actually made a careless mistake. Yes, I did. I make mistakes too sometimes. Yeah, so I'm gonna write it in red pen. So my mistakes is over here. It was supposed to be negative 6 over there, but I wrote it as a positive 6, as you can see. So my answers are gonna change now for a bit. So it will become negative 6, move to the other side, you will actually get a positive 6 here. So these will pretty much change all my values and my answers basically. But it's a quick fix, right? So again, back to the calculator. Okay, so my A is going to be 1. All right, my B is going to be -5. And my C is going to be a +6, right? So that will be, okay, x equals 2 and x equals into 3. So I will get x minus 2 here and x minus 3 here equals into 0, right? So that one small little mistake, right, can change your whole answers, right? So anyways, I found the mistake and I'm glad that we fixed it. Okay, so now let's really move on to question number 4. So question number 4 says, we have an equation. They want us to get PA, QB, RC, find the value of each of the integers A, B, C. Again, as you guys can see from the first question that we did, right, that it's again a repetition. They want to see whether you can divide properly for indices or not, right? So divide, what do we do? Powers minus each other. Multiplication, obviously you have to plus, right? Square root, it will change it to a power of 1/2. Okay, it's not just square root, sometimes it can be cube root as well, all right? It can be other things. So they just want to see whether you can minus properly. Anyways, let's do this. So let's start by changing certain things, especially the square root first. Okay, and also maybe I probably want to multiply the power of 5 on the inside at the Q and R before I, at the same time while I change the power of the square root. So let's begin. So P 1/3, Q -1/2, R is 3/2. All right, so that's just the same, no change. At the bottom, P -2/3. Okay, so here's the part that I want to change, right? So Q to the power of, it will be Q to the power of 5, R to the power of 5 as well. Okay, then I'm going to write my bracket, and this is the part where I put the power of 1/2 at the top. Okay, so now, if you guys are quick enough, I mean, I'm sure you guys can minus straight away. But if you want to do it like, you want to do it slightly slower, you can obviously expand the bracket at the bottom. You don't have to rush things, right? So I've got 3/2 over P -2/3. So here, this is where we multiply, right? Power of 5 on both variables, we're going to multiply with 1/2. So Q 5/2, and as well as R 5/2 as well. Okay, so this looks nice, right? Okay, so we're just going to minus it right now. Seems pretty simple. P, all right, so same thing, don't make a mistake here. So if you want to write it down slowly, you can. 1/3 minus comes from the fraction or the divide, but you've got a -2/3 over there. All right, so write it in a bracket. We've got Q -1/2 minus with 5/2, and R we've got 3/2 minus with 5/2 as well. So yeah, let's just minus all of them. Okay, so the first one, I know that it's just going to be P to the power of 1. So Q, the next one, that is going to be -1/2 minus 5/2. That's -6/2. -6/2 is -3. And the last one is going to be 3/2 minus 5/2. Let's test my memory. It will become -2/2. So that means it will just be -1. All right, so we've got all our values. A is 1, B is -3, and R is -1. And voila, we are done, right? We've got our answers. Oops, not R equals into -1. C equals into -1. All right, so we'll just do maybe one more question. Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next question. So the last question of the day, it's a two-part question. The first part, they want us to solve the equation, which means, like I said, they want the value of x. And question B is pretty much just like question number 1 till 4, where they want us to find the values of the powers, right? So we'll start with question 5a first. So it says over here, we've got 16, 3x minus 1, 8x plus 2. You guys need to change the 16 and the 8, right, to something, okay, to something. We essentially need to make the base the same, okay? So this is the part where, well, if you know your teachers allow you to use a calculator, then obviously go to your calculator, just like what I have over here. And 16 and 8, so I know that's like 2 to the power of 3. So 2, 3, see, you're gonna get the number of 8 over there. If I do 2 to the power of 4, I'm gonna get 16. If you don't have a calculator, well, you pretty much need to be really good in your multiplication, right? So 16 and 8, I know, you know, the multiplication numbers of 2 has the number 16 and 8 over there. So obviously, you know, I can use the base of 2, right? Anyways, so we've discussed about this. So 2 to the power of 3 is 8, as you guys can see in the calculator. And 2 to the power of 4 is going to be 16. So that's what I'm going to change it into. So the first one, 2 to the power of 4. When you change something, make sure you write it in a bracket. And you've got 3x minus 1 over there equals into 2 to the power of 3, x plus 2. Now, since we have a bracket and there are powers on the left and right side of the bracket, we need to multiply them together. So it will be 2 to the power of 12x minus 4. Multiply both, yeah, guys. Equals 2 to the power of 3x plus 6. Since the base is the same, I can pretty much, you know, make an equation out of this, which is the pink color highlighted ones, right? So 12x minus 4 equals into 3x plus 6. 12x minus 3x equals into 6 plus 4. 9x equals into 10. X equals into 10 over 9. So just checking if I made any careless mistakes. Don't think so, yeah. Yep, so your answer is x equals 10 over 9. So that's the first one. All done. Right, so moving on to the next question, question 5b. All right, so 5b, hopefully I have enough space. Right, so as you guys can see from the question, there is a power of 3 outside the bracket. You need to multiply it in on the inside. So a, right, so let's just do this, right? 1 over 3 times 3, right, 3 over 3. So what's 3 over 3? It's just 1, exactly. So a to the power of 1. B equals, b will be negative 1 over 2 times 3 is just negative 3 over 2. Over, let's try an equals here. Okay, so the bottom still stays the same, negative 2 over 3, and b is 1 over 2. Since we have a fraction, what does that mean? Exactly, that means divide. So divide means you have to minus the powers. Exactly. So let's just do this. All right. So if you guys want to use a calculator, you can just take 1 minus, right? Minus comes from the fraction. But wait a minute, there's a negative 2 over 3 there. So make sure you guys write a bracket. So you've got 1 minus bracket. Bracket 2 and 3. Whoa. Yeah, 2 and 3. Close bracket. 1 over 3. If you don't get to use the calculator, well, just do like what you normally would do for fractions, right? So, yeah. So, a 1 over 3. B will become, so again, calculator, right? So, negative, so you got negative 3 over 2. And you've got minus with fraction 1 over 2. What's that going to get you? Negative 2. The working seems so short, right, guys? Yeah, I know, right? So we got our answer anyways, and it's in the exact same format as well. Always check, always check. It's so easy to check, right? See, just have a look at what they want and what you have. I have A, I have B, great. I have a power on both sides, great. Okay, so that means I can find my answer already. It is P equals into 1 over 3 and Q equals into -2, and that is my final answer. Yeah, so we'll end the video over here first. Based on my students' questions, I think I don't know, about there are like 17, 20 questions in total. Yeah, let me know down in the comment below if you would like me to keep continuing this series. And what else must you know about indices? I mean, you need to know how to do simultaneous equations as well. There's simultaneous equations here. So do let me know, guys, what you guys think about this video. If you enjoyed this video, if it was helpful in any way, remember, guys, just leave a like down below. Remember to subscribe to this, and if you want to share this video to your friends, go right ahead to do it, right? So that's all for today, guys. I'll see you on the next video.